It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledge it. Knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want. We just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
Merry New Year from the offices and studio of Topic Thunder. From our households to yours, a Happy New Year, and thanks for joining us on a fresh set of tracks here. And that's all we're going to say about that. On Topic Thunder, it's Monday night, must be 7 p.m. Central. That must be Ben.
That's me. Last I checked. Definitely.
All right.
You must be Brooks.
I occasionally go by that name. Yes. So, all right, we're all in the right place as you.
I was confused for a second if I wasn't right.
Man, it doesn't take much after, especially this weekend. I went a little hard in the paint, shall we say? Yeah. So we're just gonna just doing a little bit of a cleanse here.
I was gonna say, yeah, because we're gonna surprise people. The drink that we normally start the show with, not your normal drink.
Yeah, in fact, it's going to be a LaCroix hibiscus.
Ooh, that's the unsweetened type of.
Yes, naturally essence. I like it. Gives you that crisp, like you're drinking like a 7-Up, ice cold 7-Up. There's a nice little taste, and there's no bad stuff in it, right? That we know of yet. So cheers. Welcoming 2022.
Courtney's already blagging. I cleanse this so 2021. She's right.
Look, I had to get that out of our system, and we'll probably talk some of the stuff that happened yet in 2021. But we need to kind of flush that out collectively. I think our systems
we kind of need to flush 2021 out of our system, don't we?
We do need
It's like last year, 2020 was horrible. Everybody knows that. Yeah, everybody had a shitty time in 2020. Everyone was like, well, maybe 2021 will be better. And it was just less shitty than 2020 was. Slightly.
Was it?
Slightly. Right?
I don't know.
Arguable, right? It's arguable. It's debatable. But maybe we're far enough into this thing. I don't know. Maybe 2022 is going to be better. And here's crossing my fingers and praying to whatever gods you pray to.
It was
20 was 20 light. Yeah. It just didn't feel as bad. I don't know.
Yeah, sweet moon. There she is. Those twin moons, those eyes, like jewels in the sky. There, Adrian. But yeah, I guess okay. So we'll wait 20.
Courtney says 2021 was way shittier. So I don't know.
I might trend on that because everything was supposed to kind of go back to okay, right? We had vaccines and treatments and a better understanding of everything, and it's running rampant again. We'll touch on that a little bit later. Little news out of the south of France. We'll talk about that.
Well, yeah. There's an interesting point too. 2021 did start like what are we? We're 3 days from the 1-year anniversary of a coup. Basically,
it was a tour.
Yeah, it was just a tour.
It was a tour
where they had gallows
and pre-planned knowledge of where people were going to be and where their safe houses were, and extensive knowledge of the underground tunnel system, and I had an operational plan of where the vice president may be going.
Right. And they planned to kidnap him and hang him on the steps of the Capitol. That was the plan. Just so we're clear on that.
So all of this stuff is coming out now because they have all the testimonies kind of coming out now. I guess there were literally like 2 plans going on. I guess there's like 100 different Congress people that were prepared to do a legislative maneuver to stop the counting of certain electoral votes. And then there was your Proud Boys, Oath Keepers that were more on the violent side, or again, a tour of the insurrection there. And there was a plan to get the vice president out. I don't know. There was, I guess, a Secret Service car that our good friend Ron, friend of the show, listener, strong supporter, Ron Johnson, Republican out of Wisconsin, I guess like was like saying like that he's not in the car. He's not in the car. Like, what car? The vice president was hiding out in like the docks of the Congress building.
Yeah, no, it's insane. And then now to know that all of the TV pundits from Fox News were feverishly text messaging Mark Meadows, trying to get the president to do something to calm us down, because even they knew it was a terrible look as it was happening. Now their revisionist history, they have to protect the brand, and so they've gone on to protect the brand of conservatism and republicanism and all of those things. But they, behind the scenes, they knew too. Holy shit, this is fucking terrible. You know, I mean, and somebody died. You know, multiple people died as a result of this thing. Yeah. So here we are a year later, and we still are we still have people believe that election wasn't legitimate. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I guess we're already talking about him, so let's just jump right into it. And leading the headline, this was broke 26 minutes ago, but the story leaked much earlier today from the AP. Former President Trump, Ivanka, and Donald Jr. have been subpoenaed by New York Attorney General. That is kind of a big deal in multiple ways. A little bit of background on this. This is, I believe, New York. This is not New York. This is New York State. All right. So
the Attorney General of New York, right?
The Attorney General of New York. It was JD Vance, right? So JD Vance, I don't know, was leaving office, and he had literally left the decision to prosecute or subpoena Trump to his successor. Now, mind you, this guy Vance has been working on some of this stuff for over a year now, and had complete access to the books and all of the detailed tax information, real estate stuff, all of the holdings information, and was like, and sat on it, basically convened multiple grand juries. Each grand jury is like, you should go get this guy. And now this last time, he just left office in the last month or so. This guy's been on the job. His name is, I believe, Alan Brigg. The next week, subpoenas the Trump family.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And we were saying this was going to happen, and I'm surprised it's taken now a year for this to happen. I thought it was going to happen much sooner, that there was going to be some subpoenas. I thought there would be arrests by now, to be quite frank with you. I thought they were that prepared, but I also trust that they know how massive this case is, right? And they have to make sure that their case is ironclad when they go to prosecute this thing, because all eyeballs all over the world are going to be on this case. And so you better have your shit together. There better be no holes that slime ball can sleaze out of, because if there is one, he'll find a loophole, a fucking something to get himself out of this thing. So I hope that's what's taking so long. But man, it would be the day that there's that video of him in handcuffs being walked out of Trump Tower. That would be an amazing day.
And it could, but we already kind of mentioned Trump and his children and multiple times of being involved in this conspiracy, right? Have you heard, going back to January 6th, where Trump was? He was in the living room of the White House watching everything on TV. That's what the president of the United States was doing while there was an armed and angry mob terrorizing and tearing through, just ripping through the defenses of the Capitol building. He was watching Fox News in the presidential residence, where allegedly one of his siblings twice came into the room and said, "Can you please call them off? Can you please get on TV and tell everybody to stop?"
Right.
And what did he do? He probably opened a Diet Coke and turned the volume up.
Right, because he has no interest ever in being the bearer of bad news to people, right? He doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, of course, you're fired. Like that whole part of it. But I'm saying in this sense of he doesn't want to be that guy. He's not gonna. He doesn't want to be the guy that says, "Hey guys, let's back it off," because he thinks that that's gonna make his people turn on him, right? So he's like, "Oh no, I gotta. These are my people. I know, but let's just make sure that let's hope it doesn't go really bad." And that was kind of had to have been what his thought process was like, I don't want to rock the boat. These people voted for me, and I need them if I'm really going to push this narrative that I was robbed, and I'm going to need them the next time. So I can't go out there and tell them to stop because I'm not going to get reelected if I do that.
I wouldn't discount the fact that he was just plumb enjoying himself there. That he had, and he knew he had ex-military and ex-special forces and everything. He knew he had an armed mob and a little army under his control doing what they were told to do, right?
Sure.
So let's go back to the sibling thing, right? One of his siblings, one of his children, came into the room and said, "Can you please stop?" Now, Michael Cohen on a podcast last week said that at one point Trump had offered Don Jr. up literally as a token of, "I'll give you the dirt on him if you leave Ivanka alone."
Really?
And the DA was not interested in that.
No, they want them all.
Well, they want them all, sure. But now that information is out, I'm going to ask you a question. And let's open it up to the Thunderdome. I'm going to ask you a question. Between Ivanka and Donald Jr., who do you think would have stepped into that room and said, "Dad, you got to tell him to knock it off"?
Good question.
We all know that Eric is Fredo.
Right, he's just there.
We all know what happens to Fredo. We already know that.
Don Jr. was one of the people that texted to Mark Meadows. So he wasn't there. So that means it had to have been Ivanka that was walking into the room and saying, "Dad, you got to stop this. You got to do something."
Who has who's better set in life without Dad involved anymore?
At this point, Ivanka, yes, right. She has started her own thing, that she is independent of Daddy. Yes.
So her branding, which would be all important there, the waning moments of her father's presidency, would be even more important, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's Ivanka that would have, because I think Don Jr. is like, whatever, sucking at the teeth. I think
you're right, because we know that Don Jr. was one of the people that texted Mark Meadows, right? So he wouldn't have texted Mark Meadows if he was literally in the other room. He would have just gone in and told his dad straight up, "Dad, you got to go do something." So we know Don Jr. wasn't physically there with his dad as this was going on. So that leaves either Eric or Ivanka. And Eric, we don't believe that Eric could possibly be smart enough to be all involved in anything. He's literally the kid that is the spoiled rich kid who offers really nothing of value to anybody, but he's rich and he's a Trump. And so he just kind of gets to live that life.
Trump doesn't find patsies. He breeds them.
Sure. At the end of the day, right? Isn't that right? You could just kind of
look at that guy. Look at that guy. When he just looks dumb. He's gonna fuck this up.
Between him and Ivanka, definitely Donald Trump is on Team Ivanka. He has been in an awkward love with Ivanka her entire life. He literally said if she wasn't his daughter, he would want to date her.
Absolutely. With all the Epstein stuff again, I
right. Oh no, Don Jr. was probably on safari killing endangered species.
This is true. So it's pretty big that their subpoena, and let's be very clear, the subpoena is for their testimony in regards to the investigation into the finances of the Trump company, right? And how they run things.
Because there's a lot of fraud that they believe is going on. Tax fraud, insurance fraud, a lot of those types of things, yes.
Like one of the pieces of land that I guess he owns in upper New York, or it's somewhere, I don't know where, I'm getting the stories confused. It's worth something, right? Not as much as he wanted it to be. So
Right.
they've been inflating that by 2 or 3 times on the
All
tax
of his
reports.
properties have been doing that. Yep.
And he thought he was going to get by because he gave like a little acre or something for like some kind of weird shitty state park. Of course it had to have his name on it, right? It's to Trump State Park, right? And he thought that was going to be like, but that's one of the ways that like when they got in there to get permits and like, okay, what's the for insurance purposes we need to the evaluators, and they're all like, wait, how much did they say, right? Just
There-
that's
there's
what they're going at.
definitely a lot of different levels of fraud going on in the Trump organization, and and running for president is what brought this really into the mainstream, into the consciousness of Americans and the government of New York, right? Like when he was so against turning over his tax records, that is a red flag to anyone in the IRS or in state governments to go, he doesn't want us to see them because of what's on there, right? There's information in there that he feels is going to make him less credible or expose him as a criminal. And that's why. So it makes total sense. And he did this to himself by being so defensive about his tax returns. And I think he has no one to blame but himself for this. He opened that can of worms himself.
I think the rise to prominence, I get this. I get the sense that there was a certain amount of we'll tolerate your low end bullshit because it's just okay. You're dabbling. You're certainly not a crime lord yourself, but you dabble with all the right people. They're all paid up, and you're not. It's just real estate fraud. So okay, I mean, we could get you if we wanted to, but the thing that sticks to me is that like if what we've posited, a lot of other people have theorized that like he has been working with the Russians since the 80s, and like I'm sure that the FBI and anybody else with the 3 letters in their name know who most of these people are. Are they keeping an eye on him? Why was he allowed to go that far if there was a file and if we knew something?
Yep.
To that extent, you're telling me that at some point there could not have been a conversation between the highest levels of law enforcement in the land going, look, anything but that spot, anything but POTUS.
Mm-hmm.
Guy wants to be Secretary of State of New York, fine. Fine. You want a Senate seat? We've got plenty of crooks on the Senate that are connected to the Russian mob, but
Right.
you just be joining a club, not POTUS. Somebody didn't stop that. There was a failure in our checks and balances, even at that level. Oh, that's not supposed to be there, Brooks. Yeah, I know that's not supposed to be there. That's reality of what it is.
Mhm.
There are those checks and balances there. So they either failed or this was just kind of part of the plan, right?
I want to, Billy Whack in the comments, it says it's so amazing that he didn't prepare for being president and having to show his tax stuff. He couldn't even make up fake papers. I would have expected that. And I agree with that. Like you'd think the people around him would have prepared him for this, that listen, part of the deal is here, you got to turn over your tax paperwork. And we all know we can't just go ahead and turn over that tax paperwork. So let's do something about it. What I think, though, my spin on that is it lends more credence to the idea that I have always had, which is he never really wanted to become president. When he started this whole thing, the end goal to him was not to actually become president of the United States. The end goal originally to him was to get a raise from NBC for The Apprentice. That's what it started as. And then the snowball started rolling. And then all of a sudden it really started picking up. And by the time it became a reality, this shit fell through the cracks. It was already like, all right, it's already time. We're here at this point. We're running for president now. It's almost too late to make up fake paperwork.
I'm glad you brought up the 2016 election because just this last week, somebody very key was brought to the United States through extradition treaties. And this guy was apparently the linchpin for the Russian hacking in the 2016 presidential election. It's according to Bloomberg. The report cites unnamed sources close to the Russian government calling him the highest level Kremlin insider handed to U.S. law enforcement in recent memory. and this gentleman who just 18 months ago received a Medal of Honor from Russian President Vladimir Putin. So this is I'll show you get to his name, Vladislav Klyusin. Klyusin.
Klyushin?
He he's an IT executive, but he was all tied up in all kinds of military hacking and GRU, Fozzie Bear, all those fun things that we've talked about on the show before. But they apparently got this guy in Sweden, and we're friendly with Sweden, so Sweden arrested him. They're going to ship him here. And if you recall, right about the same time this extradition was agreed upon and it was announced, there was an emergency phone call, an unscheduled phone call between President Biden and Vladimir Putin on like a Thursday.
All right, this was a couple of weeks ago we talked about, right? It was right. We recorded right before the call was supposed to happen, if I remember.
No, this is a second call.
Oh, okay.
This was like they had the big like summit call, right, where they're gonna sit down and talk about this. This happened. This extradition agreement happened in that week between phone calls. So this second phone call is very interesting because there's some details here that I just want to read you. Michael McFall's quoted here. So let me read you this quote from. He was a former U.S. ambassador to Russia under Obama. You may be seeing the signs that they are continuing to pursue the case with real big implications for exposing in greater detail what the Russians did to influence the outcome of our election. He added that the extradition is a serious concern for the Russian government and underscores the risk that anybody, billionaires or others close to the Russian state, face when they break American laws if they travel abroad. He's an IT mogul, right? Part of the oligarchy there. He got a medal from Putin, like the highest civilian honor, right? That's Putin's buddy, like, hey, you're in with me kind of thing, right?
That's right.
He worked on several different hacks throughout the years. And what this guy would do, he's hacked Tesla, he's hacked IBM, he's hacked Microsoft, and he would take trading information right as reports about earnings were about to come out, and he'd trade on that information. This is how this guy made his bones.
That's genius, actually.
It is, but he's gotten caught several times, but he's in Russia, so there's not much you can do about it.
What are you going to do about it?
So what they think happened is this guy kind of, as the years went on, and started getting more and more involved in some of the more militarized aspects of this sort of cyber warfare, and apparently had a lot to do, if not direct ties and orders from the highest levels of Russian government to execute the 2016 hack of the DNC server, which it wasn't just the DNC server, it was the RNC server too. They got both, and they weren't necessarily looking to change votes in that. They were looking for voter data. They were looking for patterns of voting. They were looking to see who is registered where. Why is that important? Well, if you're going to shave points, you got to know what the score is, right? You have to know how many people vote in that certain particular county and say, oh, Ohio, and say, okay, how many do we need to somehow make it go away to win the electoral blah, 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 blah. That's some of the stuff that they were getting. That's some of the stuff that Paul Manafort happily handed over to known Russian military intelligence contacts.
That's right.
Getting this guy is like getting the IT manager for the whole operation.
Right. A guy that really knows how the computer, how the electronics, the technology of the whole thing works, right?
Which is something we don't understand at this point. We don't understand what they did, how they did it, and we don't understand those things.
No shit. So we don't, our hackers can't figure out how this hacker has done some shit.
At the time, they sure couldn't. I'm sure now that they've done the forensics about it, they're like, oh yeah, and congratulations to them for leveling up during the post-mortem for that situation. Right. But it's what you do, right? So
you're reactionary at that point rather than being, being, what's the right word I'm looking for?
Reactive or proactive.
Proactive, correct.
Like, and there's a difference there, right? So proactive is what you really should be. Reactive means you have a plan, or at least you're prepared for. And reacting is just Yeah.
It's just, it happened, and what am I going to do, right? And
Yeah.
you're reacting instantly. Yeah. Our hackers are still trying to hack Minecraft.
So this one guy might not only be a forensic bounty as far as the how they did it, what channels, and what might be occurring going forward. If this guy, let's see how loyal he is, right? You want to give up some names? You want to give up some data? Do you have stuff copies of things that you save, documents, anything? Let's get your laptops. Let whatever you got. Let's see it if you want to talk. Because otherwise, this is what was probably going to happen to you. You're just probably going to spend your life in some maximum security prison in North Dakota and enjoy.
Yeah. It more and more every fucking week we're uncovering more pieces of this whole thing and put more information's coming out, and it's easy to forget some of the things leading up to this, like that, like Paul Manafort giving up that voter data information to the Russians, and like we forget that's part of that puzzle, and it makes so much sense as the picture starts really coming together as you're putting more pieces into the puzzle. So yeah.
And speaking of kind of what was going on and some of the ways that we were attacked, there's a group called Media Relations, and it's actually a study that was done by George Washington University. And the headline is Online Parenting Communities Pulled Closer to Extreme Groups Spreading Misinformation During the COVID-19 Pandemic. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Those insane, crazy mom groups and community groups on Facebook.
Uh-huh.
Oh, boy. Well, looks like that was a breeding ground for extremism. And what the study goes on to reveal is they weren't exactly sure how these elements kind of uh, conspiracy theory belief and anti-vax and all of these other like subgroups kind of infiltrated these what we would assume be like these wholesome like parenting groups and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what they've done, and that's a quote from the study: by studying social media at an unprecedented scale, we have uncovered why mainstream communities such as parents have become flooded with misinformation during the pandemic and where it comes from. Our study reveals the machinery of how online misinformation ticks and suggests a completely new strategy for stopping it, one that could ultimately help public health officials control the spread of COVID-19. What they found, researchers discovered the mainstream parenting communities were exposed to misinformation from two different sources within Facebook. First, during 2020, alternative health communities, which generally focus on positive messaging about healthy immune system, acted as a key conduit between mainstream parenting communities and pre-COVID conspiracy theory communities that promote misinformation about topics such as climate change, fluoride, chemtrails, and 5G. This strengthened the bond between these communities and allowed misinformation to flow more freely. Second, a core of tightly bonded yet largely under the radar anti-vaccination communities, which were found adjacent to the mainstream parenting communities, were able to continually supply COVID-19 and vaccine misinformation to the parenting communities. What's more, neither the alternative health communities nor the anti-vaccination communities were particularly large groups by Facebook standards, meaning they could still fly under the radar of the platform's moderators.
That is so interesting because there was a time that I still am part of some of the groups, but that I was part of some of those anti-vaccination groups, or at least paying attention to them. I wasn't active, but I was seeing what they were putting out and was, kind of going down that rabbit hole. And I could see now that they're saying this, how that makes sense, that in this moment, there was a moment in time that allowed these anti-vaccination people to go into these parenting groups and give what appears to be good information, because those people are very good at picking the information that really makes you go, hold on, whoa, without, and then you just make your decision based on that information without digging a little bit deeper into it. And so I could see how the anti-vax people saw that opportunity and went, this is a perfect opportunity. Boom. And then that spread to the people that were in those Facebook groups, those parenting groups. They're telling their friends and family members, their parents, well, I saw this on Facebook. They were saying this about vaccinations, and people that have otherwise for the last 40 to 50 to 60 years of their life never thought twice about vaccines or vaccine mandates or anything. They never paid attention to it at all, are suddenly now very interested in all these vaccines that have had, bad side effects for people. I mean, it was an amazing opportunity for them to be able to spread their message very quickly. And I think it probably went a lot faster than a lot of even the anti-vaxxers imagined it would. They were like, oh shit. Like it was like, when someone like flicks a cigarette butt out their window and starts a fucking wildfire, that's kind of what happened here. Like these anti-vaxxers just flicked a couple fucking cigarette butts into some really dry shrubbery and it just fucking ignited and it spread very quickly. And that's what happened.
It's a very apropos way to describe these two groups, a cigarette butt and really dry shrubbery. It kind of fits.
It does, doesn't it?
But that you're absolutely right. And we like to drill down one more level. What were the driving forces behind some of those anti-vax and the alternative health communities anyway? It doesn't seem like, I don't know. Again, we were just talking about Russian misinformation attempts and how they hacked. And we know that they've influenced our last round of national elections electronically. And we've talked about how they influence these groups. And they've jumped in with fake accounts and fake users that move numbers and push certain posts and accounts to the top of your feed. Like that's all part, they've working the algorithm. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if that started like, well, let's see. Well, let's pick some of the crazier fringe stuff. Alternative health people. Yeah. Because they look at this.
You're willing to listen to Gwyneth Paltrow about health.
Right.
You're willing to listen to almost anybody, right?
And her vagina smelling candle. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, this person believes that drinking milk thistle is the end all be all. Let's see what they think about vitamins. Let's see what they think about supplements. All right. But so that two interesting communities that kind of like came together and pushed into this other one almost like a virus that infected these groups with all this misinformation and just kind of take a look around sometimes at work or you're on the bus and just kind of go, who do I know? Or maybe like, who's in this group?
Yeah.
who's on this like road of misinformation and her vagics.
By the way, we're talking out loud here, breaking the fourth wall for the folks at home. But at the top of this story from George Washington University, there's a media contact, and I'm gonna call them and I'm gonna see if we can't set up somebody that was involved in this research to come on and talk about it a little bit more in depth with us. Wouldn't that be fun to have someone that was involved in this to come on and dig in a little bit deeper on a big or something with a cool interview with someone that was involved in this research? I bet they would blow our fucking minds.
I would love to know like some of the numbers and some of the other like non-COVID misinformation stuff. So just give me some of the other stuff. Like I'm more interested in like the 5G and like the QAnon. I wonder if they even looked at that because those like if I said to you, if I gave you, you tell me one word and I'm going to give you 5 to describe that one word. I'm going to say 5G, chemtrails, fluoride, climate change, and conspiracies.
Yeah. QAnon, right?
QAnon, right?
Yeah, if you're talking pedophile ring, you'd have nailed it for sure.
Well, I all right, you brought it up, so let's talk about it. Let's go, Brandon. Right? Let's go, Brandon, because just today, actually it happened yesterday, 5 missing teenage girls found, 30 sex offenders arrested in a months-long U.S. Marshals operation. Let's go, Brandon. 5 missing and endangered teenage girls were recovered by U.S. Marshals in a months-long operation that saw the arrest of 30 individuals, the agency said late last month. The annual operation, sponsored by the U.S. Marshals, dubbed Operation Boodat.
I love that. That's the best part of this whole story.
Took place mid-October to mid-December around the New Orleans area with the help of several Louisiana police and sheriff departments. The 5 girls were aged 14 to 17, according to the U.S. Marshal release. So they found 5 terribly shocked and terrified young ladies. Hopefully, got them into. Well, let's see. One was found stealing a relative's car and a handgun. According to it, she was found at a New Orleans home living with several adults, including a strip club dancer. The agency said so. Not the best situation, and probably being sex trafficked is where they get to later on in the story.
Sure.
So anytime you have one of those people that are the let's go Brandon type and say, what's he doing about all those pedophiles?
Here's the thing. The U.S. Marshals and law enforcement do an incredibly good job. And you know me, I'm not one to pat law enforcement on the back, but law enforcement, most of the time does a very good job when it comes to child trafficking, sex trafficking, this sort of thing, right? And you get a lot of these other groups. I forget what there's a big group that is involved in sex trafficking, Operation something. I forget what it fucking is. But there's a lot of people that are in that group that think that there's a lot of stolen valor, right? There's a lot of stolen valor from law enforcement who are spending hours and hours doing police work like this, stings, month-long stings to actually arrest these people. And then these Operation whatever fucks show up and they take credit and they take pictures of themselves like, hey, we helped the cops bust more pedophiles. And then they go back to their groups where they fundraise and they say, see guys, we were there when they arrested these 30 pedophiles. We helped. There's a lot of that goes into this because it's one of those weird topics for the fringe. The fringe of the right wing has a weird obsession with child and sex trafficking, right? It's weird. And I know people are like, well, shouldn't you be concerned with that? Here's the thing. Most child trafficking, it's like something like 98% plus. Most child trafficking cases involve a parent, a family member, or a friend close to the family abducting the child and taking them across state lines. Usually child custody battles. That's 98+% of the child trafficking incidents in this country. There's very little of the nefarious, like Pizzagate style. That's not happening a lot. And when it is happening, law enforcement is finding out about it. The return rate for kids that are involved in this to their families is something like 99%. It's when a child goes missing, and they 99% of the time recover the child and return them back to their home. This is one of those topics that gets blown out of proportion, and it's a lot of ultimately stolen valor. People trying to bite off of law enforcement because it's a topic where everyone collectively goes, well, of course that's bad. No matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, you know that's bad. So it's one of those things where this is what I do. But inside those groups, at those meetings, is when far right nonsense like QAnon gets spread. It's in those groups they get that stuff kind of spreads. Church groups and groups like that, highly conservative anti-abortion groups. That's where the QAnon stuff really starts to get spread around like the flu, if you will.
Well, that's like saying Christianity at that point, because okay, great. Is that Catholic? Is that Protestant? Are Reformed? Are Baptist? Yeah, they're all Christians, right? So like QAnon's like a very convenient banner for all of that, right? Mm-hmm. And it could be anything, but now once you kind of step your toes into one of those things, all the other ones look very attractive. Yep. That's unfortunately what it's come down to. Yep. I mentioned at the top of the show that we might have another COVID situation to worry about. And I found 3 stories regarding it, and that's good enough for me to go to air with it. Are you ready for another variant?
Oh, perfect.
Scientists have rung the bells over the emergence of a new variant in the southern of France. It comes after 12 patients tested positive in the same region, but the test showed an atypical combination, so something they're not used to. An index case has returned from Cameroon, suggesting to experts that they may have originated in the African country. And enough with the finding these, they're from everywhere. Enough like trying to peg this on like Africa.
Yeah,
they're coming from everywhere.
It doesn't matter, and that goes back to where the Wuhan shit from the very beginning. It doesn't matter where it fucking originated. It's here. Let's fucking deal with it.
Let's fucking deal with it. That's the only thing that matters. So 12 patients tested positive for this one they haven't seen before. So they sent the test off and they've done genetic review, and they've identified 46 different mutations in this variant. So there's no saying what that this is going to become what they call a variant of concern, like Omicron is, or Delta or Alpha. It's just, this is again just showing you what happens when the virus gets out of the jar and there aren't adults in the room handling the situation properly.
Yep. Yeah, here we are. And this is going to be an ongoing story. And it's just going to add to the exhaustion that we talked about last week, where it's just going to, unfortunately, is going to lead to people taking it less and less seriously rather than more and more seriously.
And it gets easier and easier to kind of fall into the conspiracy theories, like, oh yeah, now there's going to be another virus, right? Is there, are they assassinating somebody now?
People still will argue with you that COVID is the flu. It's the same thing. They'll argue with you about that. Still, here we are, 2 years now. We're still having to hear arguments about that. Come on, we know that is not anywhere near accurate. And here we are still on social media, people saying it as if they 100% believe it to be true.
I mean, they think of it like that because maybe how it transmit, but it's a completely different animal.
The symptoms. No. What gets people is the symptoms. I've seen memes, a number of memes recently where people were like, the news stations were putting up symptoms of Omicron, right? And it's sneezing. It's everything from the NyQuil commercial, basically, right? and everyone was like, well, that's just the flu. And it's like, yes, the symptoms are the same. The severity of the symptoms are not the same. That's where we're at here. And that's the part that people aren't grasping, is that the severity of the situation when it's with the flu is not anywhere near as severe as COVID has been. Hospitals are still overrun with this shit. Are you kidding?
Yes, they are. I read an interesting study that because they were trying to find out the long COVID. Like the flu does not have like long-term symptoms like the COVID does, and we know that there's a link between some form of heart disease or vascular disease, and we also know about the brain fog, right?
Yeah,
that this is confirmed. Like there's people that have short-term memory issues that are lose the word type moments where I can't think of the word fire truck right now. I can't even think about the word fire truck. I know what it looks like, but I can't think what that even means.
right.
They've found out what that there's a possible link to the vascular disease, and that some of the vascular walls get weakened for some reason as the COVID virus ravages your system. And in the weakening of the cerebral vasculature, they're having they're describing it as microaneurysms, that the very smallest of your blood vessels are popping, and that blood, that extra fluid, is all putting pressure, and you're basically that part of the brain that relied on that blood flow is not getting that blood flow. If it gets it from somewhere else, cool, but it might die.
You mentioned the heart issues.
Yeah.
And I again, when I'm on social media, I try to follow pages from all the different spectrums to try to get a feel for what every group is trying to think, right? And there's groups like We Are Change, which is hugely anti-vax, right? And they're pushing the narrative that it is some nefarious plot to, thin the herd, if you will. Like there's a nefarious plot where that they're vaccinating people to, cut down on the amount of people, and suddenly people are going to start dying. They are spinning that story about all the heart things that are going on with people, and they're spinning it to blame it on the vaccinations. They're saying people, and not that because they had COVID, they're having this, because they were vaccinated, they're having these heart issues.
There's plenty of data to support it now. Before we had the vaccine, again, it took almost a whole year. I think they labeled it a pandemic on like March 11. And I think I remember, but we know it was here. We knew it was here. We knew something was going on. Things were shut down even before that. And I think December 19, I got my first shot. And let's just take a step back with it. If they wanted to mass kill people,
right?
They wouldn't be putting the poison into something that's more or less pretty much voluntary. They'd put it in your coffee. They'd put it in your water supply.
You put it in
If that was the plan,
Right.
there are much easier ways to do this than to release a virus and then let some people die and then create a vaccine that does that. Why not just release a virus then? Fuck it, die.
Right.
There is no vaccine. And by the way, it's the worst fucking thing ever.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Yeah, exactly.
We
Because
took
we know
Godzilla
that
DNA.
there's worse chemical, chemical warfare is not the right way. But chemical weapons, right? That are that type. That like there is no vaccine and it fucking kills a lot of people very quickly. We have that technology in our military. It's capable. We're capable of it. So if they want to do it, they would just do it that way. You're right. They wouldn't ask people to sign up for the vaccine that's going to kill them. It makes no sense, but it's just them using the spin. They're using those stories and they're spinning it back to their followers that they're trying to get them to connect dots that don't actually connect, right? They're hoping that those people just read that headline. They don't actually read deeper into it.
It also, completely not appealing to the logic side. It appeals to the emotional side of the brain, right? Because then you understand something that you don't understand. The scientific community does not understand yet. So let's just be clear about that. Like we're dealing with an unknown, and much like kind of like a religion, sometimes people have to cling to an idea that or something to get it explained to them. Like, oh, it's this, it's that, it's not this, it's not that. In the same way, kind of like a religion almost kind of coddles the logic center for a lot of people to explain something that's largely unknown, to give you some comfort. All right, here's the explanation for it. Go, you can go about your day.
All right. Courtney's right. They're mass poisoning you with diabetes and tobacco when they can make money off you as they kill you. There's no long-term money in COVID. Right. Dead people cannot continue to buy products from people and buy and pay taxes and fund the war machine. Right. So it doesn't make any sense.
You know what doesn't make sense?
What's
that China created an artificial sun that burns 5 times hotter than ours.
I'm sorry, what now?
Check it out. Even though it's from the New York Post, China developed an artificial sun that ran for 20 minutes at a whopping, get ready for this, 70 million degrees.
Holy shit, that's hot.
That's 5 times hotter than the real sun. And scientists hope the machine will help harness the power of nuclear fusion, which would bring humanity one step closer to creating, quote, this is the quote from the Chinese, unlimited clean energy, end quote, by mimicking reactions that naturally occur inside the sun. It's actually a really cool thing that they did. They took some hydrogen and deuterium and kind of created enough collisions on a molecular level to start, and the pressure and all this kind of fun stuff to have these molecules fuse together. And that's what the energy released in that operation is fusion. And that's what we're talking about when you hear clean energy, because there's no waste product to that. Most of the time, what the sun does is it takes hydrogen and turns it to helium.
We talk about how terrifying the sun looks. Look at that fucking picture.
Oh, I got something here. Oh, you know what? I don't want to do it right now because I want to get to a couple other things, but that's one of the nice orbs out there right now. We're going to wrap up this segment talking about one of the more horrifying objects that they've discovered in the universe.
Can't wait.
And you should be lucky that we're nowhere near it.
Jesus Christ. All right.
Yeah. So we're creating a sun. Leave it to our Chinese friends to create a sun that they've almost spent €1 billion on. So it's not like they're shortchanging this or like just
I can't hate it. Like it seems like good solid research. Like let's try that, because maybe we don't need the sun. Maybe we could just make our own. Fuck the sun.
Well, all kinds of purposes, right? For fuel, for
energy, energy, production, sure.
And if you can put this in a starship, and like if you need like that level of energy to do because we talked about a warp drive, and if you need that, like here you go. It's all coming together. It's all coming. A Dyson sphere would be awesome. And what a Dyson sphere is, it's a theoretical like shield around a star that would just basically be these solar panels that you basically build the civilization. Or oh yeah, Dyson spheres are cool.
Yeah, imagine building a sun and bringing it with you to Pluto. Right?
Right.
You could start a civilization on a planet that otherwise couldn't be inhabited, right? Because you could bring the sun to a planet that may not be inhabitable. Yeah, it makes sense.
It just set up a star. Oh, you know what? Screw you, Earth. You know, I'm done with you. I'm gonna go create my own star, and I'm gonna orbit it in my spaceship and just sit here. Done with you. Done with you. But yeah, speaking of done with, did you hear what happened to our good friend Marjorie Green Taylor?
I did.
Ben, did you hear about this?
Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yes, if you listen to our friends on the right, her freedom of speech and First Amendment rights were violated.
This is from NBC News. Twitter suspended personal account of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, yes, pardon me, for repeated violations of COVID misinformation. I guess they had a 5-strike policy, which thanks for the 5 strikes.
5 strikes is a fucking lot. Like, I mean, for a guy that has spent a significant amount of time in Facebook jail, I wish I would have gotten 5 strikes before I got fucking put in there.
And let's consider what we're talking about here. 5 strikes about misleading information that has caused death.
Right. Like, what does she misled people about? Oh, yeah. Really important shit about people's health.
Right. So she got a permanent suspension, according to the company's website, although she does have her official representative Twitter account. Which, again, what is your favorite kind of workout? Do you know?
No. What?
CrossFit.
Oh, that's right. She's into CrossFit. Isn't she?
She's into CrossFit. So we were talking about subsets and weird influences and different like odd groups. How about that CrossFit subgroup? Maybe we ought to take a look at the weirdos that are popping out of there.
Super weird. Yes. If you've ever talked to someone who is into CrossFit, they're every bit as bad, if not worse, than vegans about telling you that they're into CrossFit. People that are into CrossFit love telling people that they're into CrossFit. It's like part of the deal.
And they're like cult primed.
Mm-hmm.
They're just ready to just join something bigger. Just ready there.
As for Marjorie Taylor Greene, let me make sure that everybody is completely aware here that free speech has nothing to do with whether a private company that you signed a terms of service with when you signed up, whether or not they decide to boot you off of their platform or not, has nothing to do with the First Amendment or freedom of speech or free speech or anything along those lines. And please, if you're one of those people that is on social media saying those things, let me just tell you something. Let me come real close to the fucking screen real quick. I got something I need to tell you. You look like a fucking idiot.
What?
You don't know what you're fucking talking about, and it makes you look stupid. The First Amendment protects you from the government punishing you for your speech. The First Amendment protects you from the government. It does not, ladies and gentlemen, give you free reign to say whatever the fuck you want without repercussions and consequences for your words. There is nothing that says you can't be cannot come from consequences, cannot come from something that you say. When you say something to someone, one of the consequences might be they punch you in the face. Some of the consequences might be they get you fired from your job. There are consequences for your words, and that has nothing to do with freedom of speech, free speech, or the First Amendment. It has nothing to do with it. And if you and you see anybody saying that on social media, you know they are an idiot. You know that they are just they don't know what they're talking about, and they are an idiot. There's no other way to put it.
Which is interesting because it's like 2 paragraphs. It's not long. It's not very in-depth reading, and a lot of people have spent a lot of time having every other argument you can imagine about it, and they've written books which you could also spend time reading. So if you're that passionate about 1A, could probably educate yourself about it before flying off the handle somewhat like that. And just,
So stupid.
uh-huh. What's not stupid, which is very interesting, science. Hyundai has ceased combustion engine development and reassigned all of their engineers to develop electric vehicles.
Yep. This is going to start happening. Ford's going this way, Volvo is going this way, and now Hyundai. It's not a surprise. Every major manufacturer is going to go this way, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you from somebody, like, there's not a lot of things that's my wheelhouse. This is my wheelhouse. And I'm telling you, electric vehicles, they're coming faster than most people can believe.
And let's see.
Unfortunately, that makes Elon Musk billions of dollars. But you got to take the good with the bad, I guess.
I think I read a story where a quarter of Teslas had to be recalled for like lifetime. So this is just competition for him. So
Sure.
he stands to lose money if this becomes, it is becoming a reality.
But you got to look at it this way. When Ford's in the game, Ford Motor Company has been around, well, as long as there's been fucking automobiles. And you can guarantee that they have spent decades already looking into electric vehicles because they knew that this was where it was going. So they have been spending money on research and development for a long time. And so that they don't make an announcement like we're going all electric by 2040 without knowing what that's going to mean to their bottom line. Right? There's a lot of money at stake and that's why people that are big gasoline backers, they go, well, then Ford's going to go out of money when no one's going to buy Ford vehicles. Bullshit. When they do something, they're going to do it right, and they're going to build a truck. Wait till they start making trucks that can tow and do everything that a gas or a diesel truck,
Yes,
or diesel.
That's perfectly good on gas.
But seriously, once they figure out how to make a truck that is as capable as a gas or diesel truck, game over, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be no reason for there to be gas or diesel vehicles any longer. There's going to be very, very little need for it. And they're going to start building more and more electric gas stations, quote unquote, that are going to make it easier for people to fill up. Ford, as a matter of fact, just announced that they invented a cord that allows an electric vehicle to be charged fully charged in 5 minutes. So if that's where we're moving, where your electric vehicle can be filled up almost as fast as your gas vehicle can be. Once we get to that point, then we're at a point where people are going to go, okay, but until then, there's going to be a large amount of people that are going to be hesitant to move that way. But once that happens, once you can charge fast and there are a lot of options to charge, we're going electric, guys. That's where we're going here.
They do cover a little bit of what you just brought up there, Ryan Hansen, about the cool vintage vehicles. It's just not, they admit it's not going to be as a robust market, and there will be. They're not going to completely phase out the combustion engine, but they'll stop making cars with combustion engines. But yeah, for sure,
they'll stop making replacement parts for those engines, and that's when then you really start phasing things out, because when there's no replacement parts for those things, you can know it becomes extremely difficult to maintain those types of vehicles.
And there was a lot of money cut out of the infrastructure bill to help set up a national charging station network, I guess you'd call it. So they'll cut out at like fat for somehow it doesn't matter.
Watch as the gas stations that are all around, watch as they start removing gas pumps and putting in electric pumps. They'll do it one at a time. And then all of a sudden you're going to look up and half of the pumps are electric pumps, and then the other half are just gas pumps. That's how it's going to happen. These gas stations are going to get ahead of this. They're going to know that this is a market that they need to tend to. And once that happens, things are going to start happening very rapidly.
Sure. And we'll be better off for it. Unlike what's going on in a galaxy far, far away. Thankfully, check this out. Astronomers detect magnetic star flashing in an instant with the energy produced by the sun in 100,000 years.
Whoa.
Astronomers have called it a cosmic monster.
Yeah, that's an apt name for it.
This is called a magnetostar, and it's less famous than black holes, but incredibly powerful in their own right. Case in point, astronomers in Spain have witnessed such an object erupt with as much energy as the sun produces in 100,000 years in a concentrated zero point 0.1 of a second.
Jesus. That is, you can't even wrap your mind around that.
That's how crazy space is. When you talk about like science fiction, that's all great, but sometimes you don't need to make shit up.
Right. Reality is just as fucking mind blowing.
And what's even crazier about that 0.1 second is that it came in two separate flashes that were like 1.16 like milliseconds. Like yeah, like it that much energy out there, and it's a magnetic star. It is crazy insane to think of.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how this whole fucking thing ends. This is one of those bitches.
It was the amount of energy that thing released would have wiped out our solar system, which is like literally like stripped everything bare and left nothing.
Good Lord. Think about the
Yeah.
entire solar system.
Oh yeah, it wiped out. If they, depending on how it came in on the galaxy, whatever plane it kind of came in at, like yeah, just clear shot through. Like just that, like yeah. They have evidence of like neutron stars, like that kind of stuff, like that level of radiation and gamma rays like hitting. Yeah, I believe there's one of the extinctions of like primordial Earth. They believe tied with like this like gamma ray burst from who knows where. Yeah, fun, right? But that's only one of it. It's but you know, as far as like the things that go on in the universe, like there's only a couple of things more powerful than a magnetic star, and certainly a black hole is one, and the other is the lightning round. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Thunderdome, where 3 stories enter, 1 gets read, and we're gonna see those lightning bolts in the chat room right now. I love it. You know the drill here, folks. I read 3 headlines. You choose. Ma Jordan is in the house, so the final word is available. Now let's not dilly dally, ladies and gentlemen. Headline number 1: Man who faked being disabled teen to get diaper changed, arrested again. Headline number 2: Rare animal rain phenomenon causes fish to fall from sky in East Texas. This is no joke.
What? That's like end of times shit right there, no?
And headline number 3: Inside the world of the burping fetish community.
Oh my God. 1 and 3 are almost impossible to choose between.
I gotta find something to write with really quick here because I gotta do.
Gentlemen.
So let's
Holy cow! There's a man that dresses in a diaper and got arrested for acting as if he was disabled and wasn't really disabled.
with a record.
For again, the last word of the headline was again. And then we have some story about a burping fetish, and then we have another story. What was the middle story? The middle story just overshadowed.
Yeah, well, let's just go over those one more time for the folks playing at home. Headline number 1: Man who faked being a disabled teen to get his diaper changed has been arrested again. Headline number 2: Rare animal rain phenomenon causes fish to fall from sky in East Texas.
I feel like that should have been in the headlines.
And headline number 3: Inside the world of the burping fetish community.
Billy Wack putting in that's 2 burping fetish. That's 2 number 3 votes. Putting in a vote for Brian Strand. Of course, Brian Strand has the ability to burp on command. It's the only
like no other.
I've never met another human being that can do it literally on command like Grandmaster B. DD Disaster, Tuna Tsunami. Burp in my face, bitch. Tuna Tsunami is my favorite.
I like that one.
I need to hear about how number 1 got caught. Yeah, right? Diaper do-over. So it looks like we've got 2 votes for number 1, 2 votes for number 2. Burp in My Face.
Ryan
Yeah, that's number
Hansen.
3. So there's another one. The diaper story coming back.
Ooh.
1 and 3 are hotly contested.
Yep.
Hotly contested. I might have to be a deciding vote. Although Ma Jordan has not voted yet. So
Ma Jordan in the house.
There it is. Boom. She votes for the diaper story. Number 1.
Take a couple more seconds to see if there's a couple more fingers typing away, but I think Ma Jordan's vote has decided this one. The Fish Rain gets no love. Fish Rain gets no love.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Well,
but I think that was one that was just, it couldn't have possibly won because these other 2 are so goddamn strong.
I'm looking to send you the link here.
I have it already because our boy Ryan Hansen's the one that hooked us up with this story, and I have there's a video that goes along with it. There's a 48-second video.
You know what? Let's do it. Let's do the video because I don't know if they're gonna just read what the story is here, but.
Offered to pay a babysitter to change his diapers. The younger man was special. So weird. Attempted human trafficking. That's the charge for that? That's weird. That is interesting. I never would have guessed that would be the charge for that would be sexual battery and human trafficking for trying to trick people into giving you health care that you don't really need. That's interesting. I could have guessed all day and probably wouldn't have come up with those 2 as the actual counts.
Yeah, I think he wasn't necessarily asking for health care. I don't know what that means. Like he was doing this.
Well, it said he's posed and tried to recruit the victim to solicit other babysitters to care for him.
Yeah, and in 2019, he was charged with 10 counts each of sexual battery and human trafficking after authorities said he posted fake ads online to lure in unsuspecting healthcare workers.
He used social media ads to falsely claim that he was seeking home health care for his 18-year-old brother, who he described as mentally and physically handicapped. He then posed as Corey while allowing the care provider to change his adult diaper and obtain sexual arousal under the false pretenses of being handicapped. Okay, there we go. Now I get where the battery and sexual battery. And this guy looks like a fucking weirdo too. I mean, you just look at him.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that there's a look, but yeah, that's creepy and weird. And gosh, I wish there was some money somewhere in this budget of ours that could provide health and services for somebody that was as troubled as that young person was.
Clearly, the cops around you have figured out that guy needs to get arrested.
Yes, again.
He shit himself for this. That's
and then had somebody change. Yeah, that's just a weird fetish. I don't get some of these fetishes. I don't get the burping fetish either, but I'm going to keep burping. And that's it. First show of 2022. I had a good time.
To find Maxwell to do his dirty work.
I like that. Yeah.
If you are a wrestling fan, the Now and Then Wrestling Podcast. Normally, we'd started doing it on Sunday afternoons, but that has become not so convenient. We're moving it to Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So it's a little bit later in the evening where everything is calmed down. If you're looking for a little wrestling nostalgia, Nick Cutler, Michael V, and myself, we just reviewed the 1991 Royal Rumble. It was great. It's very fun. We have a lot of fun talking about the wrestling.
So you're checking out Topic Thunder right now. Thanks to Biz for the show up, and thanks to Biz for the cool swag, and thanks to you for watching on Twitch or on Facebook and joining us on this little fun ride we're gonna call Topic Thunder, the USS Rapapa.